Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I'm in a smooth program right now. And again, I just want to express my gratitude to all the viewers out there with all their well wishes and stuff. And I'm sorry that I haven't been on my A game for the last month. I've been going through a lot of health issues and stuff, but I feel a lot better. I'm able to walk. As you can tell, my voice ain't gravelly and about to go out on me. So, let's get back to it. And it's smooth, like I said, you're locked down for the most part 24/7. But from Monday through Friday at your set time, you get to go out for an hour each time a day to rec. And for me, like I mentioned, I make it mandatory for me to go out because that's where you get all the news, where you hear what's going on from other compounds. People coming off the bus tell you what transpired in the yard and how they got there. And all these things is collecting data and intel because it's important. Because nothing stays confined on a yard, especially if it's issues with these recognized organizations as far as families and gangs are concerned. When something happens amongst them, it can affect other penitentiaries across the United States. These people that are in these organizations have a pretty good line of communication where they're able to communicate back and forth amongst each other in different spots. So, me, being Asian, Cambodian specifically, and I run Asian Islander, I don't really have any of the issues that other races might have as far as like Mexicans, Crips, blacks, whites, because I don't fall into the category of the racial tension amongst these different groups. And I'm also not part of any of the penitentiary gangs. So whatever gang riots and stuff pops off on other yards and stuff, it really doesn't affect me unless it's directly me or my homeboys. But at the same time, I still would like to know what kind of yard I'm walking into. What is the tension on the yard? What's the politics on the yard? Because every yard you go to, it varies depending on which big homie's got the yard and what kind of line they're pushing. Because there's some people that are able to make it on the yard when they're foul. Even in the USP, I tell you, rats, child molesters, busters, sex offenders, and all that shit supposed to get their head busted. And for the most part, they do, but not all of them. Because there's certain individuals, there's certain cars that don't really care so much when it comes to those certain things as opposed to other cars. Now, I'm going to tell you the two races in there that don't play with that shit. And that's the white boys. If you're a white boy and you hit penitentiary, if you're a rat, if you're a rapist, if you're a rapo, if you're a child molester, they find out, they are going to punish you. The only other group that is more adamant about that shit is the Native Americans. Native Americans. I can speak from my personal experience, from being on the yard with them. I'm not saying there hasn't been one or two that slipped through the crack, but when them natives find out that one of their own is fucked up, they coming and they butchering your bitch ass. For me, they're doing what they're supposed to do. And it's all love and respect for the most part, how the natives, run their car, the line that they drawn. The only issues I have with the Native American is that they're so quick to chop each other up because of all the different tribes that they come from, all the different regions. So when you put them all together in one spot, there's always going to be a little tension and a little animosity, and given any excuse to bust each other's head, they're going to run with it. But as far as being on convict time, homie, if you're Native American, don't be fucked up, because when you hit that yard, they don't give a fuck if you're trying to if you're trying to run with the Bloods, or if you're trying to run with the Crips, or if you're trying to run with the GDs, or if you're trying to be Muslim. They're not going to allow you to hide out in these other groups if they know you're foul. They're going to give the respect to go to that respective group that you're trying to run with and let them know, hey, this dude's from our res, he's fucked up. We're trying to deal with him. And really, they're giving the respect, giving them the heads up, but they're not asking permission. When they come to you, tell you they're about to bust somebody's head, they're going to bust somebody's head. And it's fucked up because, on the res, everything's federal. The res, they're supposed to be their own sovereign nation, but we're getting to a little bit of politics, but because these Native Americans been put on reservations that are so lacking of natural resources, that are the shit part of America, that they have to go to the federal government for funding to help them on their res. And the golden rule, Stephen A. Smith from First Take, he always say, the golden rule is not treating other people how you want to be treated. The golden rule is the one with the goal makes the rules. So if you, in your lifetime, if you accept money from an entity, and we'll just say the federal government, when other countries accept fundings and aid from the United States government, that money is not just given to them freely out of the kindness of their heart, hoping they can prop up your nation and your people. All them dollars come with strings. And sometimes you might feel in the beginning that it's worth it because of the immediate help that you're going to receive. But at the end of the day, you find out that money enslaved you, put you in a trick bag. So when the Native Americans accept federal fundings to help them on their res, it comes with strings. They're supposed to be a sovereign nation. They're supposed to have their own court, their own judicial system, their own prison, their own jail, that when you commit a crime on the res, you go through and they deal with their own. But because they accept federal funding, the Fed has jurisdiction. So anything and everything that they do is a potential federal case. And so a lot of the Native Americans have people that come through the system that are sex offenders, that are rapists or child molesters or, whatever, because everything is federal. And when they come through, the people get chopped up. But it's fucked up because the catch-22. Catch-22 is a phrase that we use where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So they put these fucked up dudes on a yard. Everybody knows, SIS, the administration, everybody knows that these individuals probably shouldn't be on this yard because something's going to happen to them. But they throw them out there anyway. And if nothing happens to them, the administration, other inmates, everybody will look at that prospective group sideways like, why are you allowing this garbage to hang out with you? But when something does happen to them, then the administration, depending on the severity of the incident, want to come and charge you. They want to come and press charges and put a new case on you for the thing that they expect you to do anyway. So, point being, once you're behind that wall, you're in a trick bag. And sometimes you can't avoid it. You know, that's leading up to my story that I'm trying to share with you today. You know, I go out to wreck. You know, on my range, there was only me and my cellie Easy. We're the only Asian Islander. And there was a couple Mexicans. They ran paisa, but like I said, they weren't really paisas. One of them was out of Denver, another one's out of New Jersey. Grew up here, born here in America. One of them's been into the military, whatever. But because of their race and because of the yard that they were put on, they had to make a decision. Either get with the program or get smashed out. But also on my range are DC, New York's, Midwest, GDs, Crips, and on the list. And every time we go out to a rec cage, I might get put in a cage next to some, you know, I might be next to the Crips this time, or I might be next to the DC, or I might be next to the, GDs and so on and so forth. On my range, there wasn't any white boys on my range. So, you know, for the first 4 or 5 months, these are the people that I wrecked with. And there was a New York cat on my range. You know, we go out there. You know, I have my workout routine. For the hour that I'm out there, I work out. You know, some people ask me, oh, how come you're not swole? I would expect you to be all swole when you came out of the penitentiary. Well, one is genetics. I've done a gazillion push-ups and it doesn't ever seem to have any effect on my body. You know, but for the most part, the way I stay healthy is playing basketball, playing handball. But also, there's no weights in the penitentiary. The only penitentiary that still has weights is Allenwood, and I've never been to Allenwood. But they took the weights from the penitentiary because of the Zimmerman Bill back in the 90s. Now, Zimmerman, I think it was a lady. She was in charge of I don't really remember the role that she played, but she submitted a bill to take away, you know, pornographic images and weights from the penitentiary because they were saying that the weights were making us into monsters. Because you got dudes out there all yoked up. They're doing 100 freaking years, ain't got nothing to do but lift weights, so they're all yoked up. And now the graphic stuff, she was trying to say that they were turning us into predators, that these dudes were getting out of the penitentiary all buffed up and swole and raping women, which was a lie. The bill never passed, but the Bureau of Prisons, the BOP, accepted the Zimmerman Bill and implemented it into the penitentiary. So we never had free weights. And like I say, genetically, I don't care how many push-ups I do, I'm not going to get swole. Where other people, they can do 5 push-ups and a couple sit-ups and look like they've been bodybuilding for fucking their whole lives, right? Yeah, I said that with a little envy, but that's facts. But anyway, there was this New York cat over there that sometimes I'll wreck next to, and he had a patch over his eye. You know, so one day we struck up a conversation about how long he's been there. He's been there 3 years. You know, when he first got to the system, to the SMU program in Lewisburg, the program was 18 months long. But by the time I got there in May 1st of 2016, President Obama had changed the program to 9 months. So I was fortunate that they had cut the program in half by the time I got there. But this dude, when he first got there, it was an 18-month program. But he's already completed the program. You guys are like, well, if he's completed the program, why isn't he back on the compound? Well, that's the same question I asked him. He was going on 3 years in the program. And at the time that me and him was trying to have a conversation, the SMU, the SMU program, the administration there was trying to submit him to ADX. But the couple of times they tried to submit him to ADX, ADX didn't accept him into the program because, one, he completed the smooth program, so he should be back on the compound. And two, he hasn't done anything to qualify for the ADX program. You know, but the reason why the smooth didn't want him out of that cage, out of that cell, didn't want to put him on another yard, was because of his eye patch. He had gotten in a fight in one of the rec cages. I don't know who he fought. I'm sure it was another black dude because, you know, they wreck everybody with your own race. But when they hit the deuces and the COs came, there was this, he wasn't a lieutenant when he was in Atwater with us, but he became a lieutenant in the smooth. I forget his name, but I recognize his face, and he's got one of those faces that you know he's just a cold-blooded bitch that you just want to punch in the face. And he got transferred from Atwater because he was a bitch, because he was doing fucked up shit. Now, when you become a CO after you pass your 6 months or however long probationary period, it's hard for the system to fire you because they're part of the union. So if you become a CO and you pass your probation period and you're a piece of shit and you're causing problems or whatever, and you're doing foul shit, as long as you're not literally catching a case when it comes to like introduction, bringing in drugs or narcotics into the system, they can't really fire you. And for them to move you, they almost have to elevate you, give you a raise, and move you to another location. So this bitch CO, and yeah, I speak when I'm speaking on this particular individual, yeah, I speak with a lot of animosity because he's one of them piece of shit that because he wears the uniform is gonna look at you like you're a lesser person and think he can get away with shit. And for the most part, he has. And on this particular incident with this New York cat, they was in a cell. I mean, they was in a cage, and he was in a cage in a fight where the COs come and they surround the cage. Listen, I just don't understand the way they do things. They're not gonna open the door, the cage door, and come in and break up the fight. So when the deuces go off, you got a fucking 30 COs running to the scene, but all they're doing is standing around the cage telling you stop, stop, stop. Even if you're getting butchered, getting your head stomped out, getting stabbed up, they're not opening that door and coming in and saving you. All they're doing is standing outside the cage and giving you a direct order. It's a direct order. Stop. Cuff up. Stop. And when you don't, they pull out the mace and start spraying you, pull out the gun, bean bags, and start shooting you. With this bitch-ass dude, CO, shot this New York cat with one of his bean bags, bean guns, or whatever they use right in the face and took out the dude's eye. Everybody in the smooth, all the administration knew what that dude did wasn't justified. But they're not going to reprimand their own because, their excuse to be able to do certain things to you, to use certain type of force to you, they always yell out, stop resisting, stop resisting. Even though you're not resisting, they do it for the benefit of the camera. So when it goes to court, the juror or the judge can hear, oh, he's resisting. These CEOs are telling him to stop resisting, and obviously he's continuing to resist. And so they had to use extreme force, excessive force, whatever, to contain the situation. But here's where the coward comes in. They know they fucked up this dude, took out his eye. That was unnecessary. And now they're afraid to let him out. They're afraid to put him in population. One, he's one of them dudes, one of them thorough-ass dudes, got a track record of going hard, of handling his business. He's what we call convict. He's on man time. He conduct himself respectfully, courteous, but when it comes to shit that needs to be handled, he's with it. And his staff, the administration as a SMU, knew that and understood that. So they were afraid to put him back on the compound. And through our course of our conversation, I was like, what's up, man? He's like, he's letting me know that, yeah, they don't want me back on the compound, on the yard, because they think that I'm going to fuck one of these CEOs up. Because, in the SMU program, you're never uncuffed. The only place that you're not cuffed up is in your cell or in the rec cage. Everywhere you get transported, every movement, when you're out of those two places, you're cuffed up and secure with two COs escorting you. So, and I asked him, I was like, shit. I was like, well, they feel that, they have reason to feel that way? He was like, nah, I've never told them that I was going to do anything to any of these COs. But between me and you, yeah, first chance I get, I'm going to fuck one of them off. They took my eye. So at the very least, I'm going to take one of theirs. He never voiced it to the administration, but they knew because of his track record, because of who he is, because of his personality, that he's not going to accept this lying down. But it's fucked up because he hasn't done anything to stay in the SMU. He completed the program, and he hasn't done anything to be referred to ADX. But because these cowards know they fucked up and they're fearful of him, they're doing everything they can to keep him in a cage, in a cell, where he can not have any other movements. The penitentiary is the penitentiary, but you're able to walk around. You're able to get away from your cellie. You're able to just get some alone time, as far as whatever alone time you're able to do. You have movement, you have range. But because these cowards did what they did to him, and because of their fear, they're going to keep this man locked down in a cage for probably the rest of his bid, or until somebody forgets that they did something to him. Because through the course of my conversation with this dude from New York, I believe that he had all day a life sentence. But again, I'm just trying to share with you guys what's really going on behind the wall and how these people carry inmates, convicts, prisoners, how they treat us. A lot of things that happen to us in the penitentiary are self-inducing. We bring it upon ourselves. But some other times, it's got nothing to do with us. It's the way these people feel they can get away with shit that they do. And, I regret, I'm not regret, but I apologize that I don't remember his name. But, yeah, he got his eye shot out. And because of that, he's probably going to be stuck in a cell for the rest of his life, because the administration is fearful of retaliation. And this is your criminal justice system. Welcome to the USP.